criteria do you typically look for in general for promotions?
I think there's certain things that are easier to quantify than other things, because because jiu-jitsu is such a performance-based martial art, or in other words, it's not a martial art where I go in and I just learn like a certain amount of katas and then, I break a board and then I get my belt. It's like, it's so performative. You have to be able to apply the technique, and you have to have an understanding of the technique that allows you to apply it. And in some cases, I think you should be able to convey that information, especially in the higher ranks. I think that your communicability is important. I mean, there's a reason why, that a rank in jiu-jitsu is called professor. I mean, so by the time you get there, I think that there's a huge amount that should be contingent on your ability to pass on that information to other people. But of course, that's not the main criteria either. So it's like, what is the main criteria? Because there's several things that you can do it on. If you're only, if you're running a competition stable, then it's a little easier, especially if you're just looking at how people stack up against each other in the main training environment. Or you see how people hold up. You see how your blue belt students hold up in competition against other blue belts, or purple belts against other purple belts, or whatever. So there is that. There is the command of the information. There's your ability to really break the information down. But I think that for me, one of the things that I don't hear talked about enough that I think is an important consideration, even to people who don't really explicitly say it, is that there's a personal development aspect. There's that fantastic video that I absolutely love of Cal Terra talking about him getting promoted to black belt, and basically about his whole jiu-jitsu journey with his coach and everything. And he's telling the whole thing in tears. And like, I get freaking misty eyed every time I watch this damn thing. And it's such a great video. But he, and I hope I'm not overly paraphrasing, but he says it's not how good you are at jiu-jitsu. It's how good jiu-jitsu is for you, And so it's like, what is it that jiu-jitsu did for your personal development? If I get somebody who comes in and they're so uncoordinated, they're so out of their body, they're so unsure of themselves, they're so, all these things, and I see a transformation in them based, if not entirely, then predominantly because of their practice of jiu-jitsu and their training time, then to me, jiu-jitsu has taken a hold of them, and that shows an amount of progression within jiu-jitsu that I think is deserving of rank. Because you've gone up through the ranks, and it's not really the way that I think a lot of people really approach the subject. Usually it's like, can this person tap that person? Okay, then you get the belt, this person doesn't. But that conversation, if that's your only grading criteria, it really falls apart, because otherwise there'd be like 5 black belts in the world, and Gordon Ryan would have 4 of them. So it's like, so I mean, you can't watch. There's those. I remember watching that one video a while back it was years back, of Andre Galvao competing, and he was just ragdolling this other guy, and a lot of the comments on it were like, this guy's a fake black belt, this guy, he shouldn't have been competing with the black belts because this and that. And it's like, it's Andre Galvao, I mean, he's going to make most black belts in the world look like that. So it doesn't like, kudos to that guy for stepping in there. Maybe he wasn't qualified. Maybe he had a judo black belt and he stepped in and mistakenly and was competing against Andre Galvao and BJJ. But whatever is the case, he did it. You didn't do it. Like, so how dare you? What right do you have to criticize somebody just based on their ability of how they stack up against some of the best in the world? So, the other part of it too is like, I think. I was talking to a buddy of mine who's probably, he's probably getting his black belt before long. And he's a great brown belt. I think he's a high level brown belt and a good friend of mine. And, we were talking about that feeling of, what's it called? Imposter syndrome, whenever you get your black belt or whatever. And I'm like, man, I've had that every belt, every belt I've gotten, I'm like, oh shit, I got to step my game up. It was never like, I made it. Like, if you have the attitude of like, I deserve to be the next rank, or I made it to this rank, then it's like, You can have whatever attitude you want. I don't think that's the right one. I think that, you need to grow into every belt that you get. And I think it was Salo Barrio said, you're going to have the black belt, the longest of any belt that you're going to have, barring some kind of tragedy. But the longest belt you're going to be in, if you stick with it, is the black. So black isn't a destination at all. Like that black belt is like, you got work to do, son. Like, you got to step up your game big time now. You got to fit this belt now. So, yeah.